Our story continues the morning after Ash's Battle Festival victory. He and Go spend some time at the Tower of Mastery in order to study Mega Evolution, as Professor Cerise requested. Ash already knew a little about Mega Evolution, but Go had only ever heard rumors before. So, as Gherkin explains the history of Mega Evolution and the mystery around it, Go is hanging on to every single word. He also begins to question the correlation between Mega Evolution and Gigantamax. Gherkin is curious about Go's questions and begins to suspect it as well. After all, both Mega Evolution and Dynamax have roots in their home region's history. Yet while Mega Evolution is spread across regions, being used by powerful trainers all over the world, Dynamax and Gigantamax is only available in specific locations in the Galar region. In their last moments of studying the phenomenon, Gherkin mentions to Go that his thoughts on the similarities and differences might be interesting to Kalos' professor, whose studies focus around Mega Evolution. He tells Go he'll get into contact with him, and if the professor is interested in hearing more, he'll let Go know. Karina also tells Ash to get stronger with Riolu, and if the two are interested in learning Mega Evolution, that he should let her know and they'll work something out. With that, the two say their goodbyes and head back to Kalos region. The next day, our heroes are getting prepared for a special event. Professor Cerise has set up a day of Pokemon orienteering for the younger kids of Vermilion City. Ash and Go, alongside Chloe, are to take the kids around the city and have them meet all sorts of different Pokemon so they can learn about them. When the two find out Chloe's leading her own group, they're actually a little surprised, with Go even asking her why she was doing it, thinking she was indifferent to Pokemon. She explains that while this is somewhat true, her father thought that was the very reason she needed to lead a group. She wasn't sure what that meant, and neither was Ash or Go upon hearing this. However, there was no time to dwell on this. The kids were already arriving. As the kids arrive, each are split into 4 groups. Some go with Ash, some are with Go, some join Chloe, and the rest stay with Professor Cerise. Once everyone is there, Professor Cerise explains how the orienteering is going to work. Each group will split up and explore a different part of Vermilion City. Each kid will have a list that they can fill out with all the different Pokemon they end up seeing. The group with the most Pokemon listed wins. With that explained, the groups split up. We'll start off with Ash's group. As they explore the city, they meet a few different Pokemon, mostly Rattata and Meowth, but they do meet a Growlithe after they bump into Officer Jenny. As they go along, the kids begin to ask Ash questions, like what he does as a trainer. As he begins to explain, his phone goes off. Sure enough, another World Championships participant is nearby. He tells the kids that rather than just tell them, they'll show them, and the great class match begins. This is a one-on-one, so the two send out their Pokemon. Ash's opponent explains he'd actually just gotten back from the Pokemon Dojo in Saffron City, and to show how that went, he sends out a Hitmonchan. Ash responds by sending out his own Riolu, and Hitmonchan proves to be extremely strong, with use of all 3 elemental punches, and the confusing Dizzy Punch. He has Ash's Riolu playing defensive, having to use Double Team to avoid the powerful blows, while Ash tries to look for an opening. The only problem is, Riolu hasn't been trained to fight up close just yet. With its only attack being Vacuum Wave, not being able to fight at a distance was a problem. Ash calls out to Riolu, telling it to focus its energy into an attack. Riolu seems confused at first, however, it does as it's asked, rushing in while trying to build up its aura. Once it's close and about to hit, Riolu strikes, and manages to learn the move Force Palm, which manages to KO Hitmonchan. The battle is over, and Ash is ranked up to rank 909, much to the amazement of his group. Go's group, on the other hand, find out that Go plans to do and get Go's group, on the other hand, find out what Go plans to do from the get-go. While Go is taking them across the city, he tries his hardest to point out as many Pokemon as he can. Anytime he finds one that he hasn't caught, he catches it. In particular, he finds himself having trouble trying to capture a Farfetch'd. However, after sending out Sobble to battle, the tiny lizard ends up getting hit in the head and bursts into tears. While it makes the entire group cry, it does give Go the opportunity to catch Farfetch'd before calling Sobble back. The kids are amazed by Go's ability to catch Pokemon and his goal to catch every single Pokemon and work his way up to Mew. Now, that leaves Chloe's group. Like the other groups, Chloe asks her what she does as a trainer, to which she has to tell them that she isn't a trainer at all. One of the kids points out Yamper, assuming that was her partner Pokemon, but she has to explain that Yamper is just her family's pet, and it just so happens to like her the most. Kids are pretty disappointed by the revelation, but at the same time brighten up anytime they meet a new Pokemon. Chloe pays close attention to this and begins to wonder why she isn't the same. These little kids reminded her of Ash and Go, who both would react so positively when meeting any new Pokemon. So why wasn't she like that? It wasn't that she disliked Pokemon, she really enjoyed the company of Yamper after all. So why wasn't she filled with as much joy as the others whenever she met a Pokemon? She remembers what her classmates would say. They always expected her to know everything about Pokemon. Anytime they had seen one, they just seemed to believe she would be able to explain everything since she was a professor's daughter. It was almost like they expected her to try to become a professor just like her dad. That's when it clicked. That's why she didn't enjoy being with Pokemon. Most of the time she'd meet a new Pokemon, people would pester her with questions she didn't have to answer. Or had the answers too. It happened so often and always brought down her mood to the point where the correlation between made her mood always decrease around other Pokemon. Except, of course, Yamper. The only Pokemon she had been around that no one bothered her about. One of the kids sees a Poliwag and asks Chloe about it. However, this feels different from normal. She doesn't dislike them asking, because it's just a little kid who's curious about something. So, she tries to say what she thinks of it, observing the Pokemon as it interacts with the things around them. The kids keep asking questions, and she just answers with whatever crosses her mind, and it's actually kind of enjoyable. They continue on like this, Chloe helping them meet a new Pokemon and weaving little tales for them that she comes up with while trying to think of how to explain the Pokemon they find to the kids. And they love every second of it. At the end of the day, all the groups meet back up again. The kids talk to each other about what Pokemon they saw and all the cool things they did with their groups. Ash and Go watch on smiling, but then notice Chloe also happily observing the kids. They're a little surprised, thinking she wouldn't have been interested in something like this. However, before they can say anything to her, two people walk up proclaiming that they've just seen Lugia again. Immediately, Ash and Go look around, trying to see for themselves, only to look up and see the legendary Pokemon in the sky. However, this turns out to just be a trick from Team Rocket, who reveal themselves and attempt to capture Pikachu. Ash brings out Riolu, and Go brings out Sobble in order to face them. Team Rocket, of course, brings in the Gacha once more. However, as the battle begins, Chloe ends up joining in with Yamper. With the three going against Team Rocket, the duo are easily defeated and blasted off again. The Gacha machine actually gets damaged in the process, and a Pokeball is sent out as Team Rocket blasts off. But nobody seems to notice. Ash and Go congratulate Chloe and thank her for her help in the battle. They both actually are pretty surprised she would even join them in the fight. She just smiles, saying she wanted to do her part to help Pikachu. But with that, the orienteering comes to a close. Professor Cerise's team were the ones to see the most Pokemon. However, he notices that Chloe seems to have learned a lot from this experience. As the day comes to an end, he wonders whether his daughter is beginning to consider herself as being a trainer, too. The next day, Go and Chloe actually have to go to school together. Today is the day of a big test, and because of a promise Go made to his teachers and parents, he has to go take it. Ash sees the two of them off, and the duo head to school for the day. On the way, Go asks that since Chloe's found more interest in Pokemon, if she was going to catch any. Chloe shrugs, stating she has Yamper, even though the pup does technically belong to her father. Either way, she elaborates on the fact that she might not, as it would potentially make people believe that she was going to follow in her father's footsteps. Meanwhile, at Vermilion City's new Eevee Evolution Lab, the researchers there have found trouble with a little Eevee. No matter what stone they try on Eevee, it just won't evolve. They aren't sure whether it's refusing to evolve or not, as it seems happy regardless. They decide to reconvene later on, allowing Eevee to go out and play. She eagerly walks around, joining her evolutions and mimicking them occasionally. However, when she sees Yamper walking around, she ends up following it, not realizing the electric type was originally on a walk with Ash. However, when the scientists realize that Eevee has gotten out, they go after her with a net, scaring off Yamper and Eevee. It does, however, get the attention of Ash, who ends up following after them. The two Pokemon end up running to the location of Chloe and Go's school. Immediately, Yamper picks up on the scent of Chloe, and the two escape into the schoolyard, where they eventually locate the outside of Chloe's classroom. At this time, Chloe has already managed to finish her test. She's staring out the window while waiting for everyone else to finish. That's when she hears the familiar bark of the doggo, and to her surprise, there Yamper is, right outside the classroom. She notifies her teacher that her Yamper had gotten onto the school grounds, and the teacher allows her to leave the room to handle the situation, due to the fact that she was already done with her test. When Chloe gets outside, Yamper introduces her to Eevee. She looks at the tiny Pokemon, curious as to why she happens to be there. That's when she hears the scientists. When she sees them looking around with the net, she assumes the worst. So she takes Eevee away, hiding in some nearby bushes. After making sure the coast is clear, she calls up Go to meet with her. A while later, Go ends up finding her, and she explains the situation. Soon, the two come up with a plan for Go to distract the scientists in order for her to escape with Eevee and get her to a safer location. This plan almost immediately backfires, and the scientists begin to chase after her once more. However, she ends up running into Ash, who was searching for Yamper. She explains what happened, and once the two scientists get to them, Ash brings out Riolu in order to defend Eevee. Yamper also attempts to defend, and when Go joins them as well, the trio state that they won't let Eevee be taken away by bad people, which greatly confuses the scientists. The scientists explain who they are and what they were doing there, which shocks the trio. So, at the end of the school day, they all go to Cerise Labs, where Professor Cerise formally apologizes for the trio's mistake. Chloe attempts to give Eevee back, but Eevee seems to have grown sort of attached to Chloe. The scientists notice this and suggest that maybe Chloe should take Eevee for herself. At first, Chloe's confused, but they explain to her that this Eevee has been unable to evolve for whatever reason. The scientists aren't able to understand why she won't when they give her any sort of evolution stone. So, Chloe looks at Evie, and after a while suggests that maybe Evie is hesitant on deciding what to evolve into. Mostly just due to her own hesitation in deciding what she wants to be when she grows up. The scientists actually like this theory and reiterate that friendship will also help Evie evolve. So, what better way to find out any of this but by having someone get closer to Evie by training her? With this, Chloe agrees to take care of the little Evie, and after borrowing a Pokeball from Go, she catches her first ever Pokemon. After the two scientists leave, Professor Cerise gives Chloe a Rotom phone of her own. She takes it, figuring maybe it would come in handy in learning more about Evie. Ash then asks her if she was going to join them as a research assistant. She declines the offer, as she wants to continue with school. But she does say she wouldn't mind joining them on her off days. Ash and Go seem to like this idea, and the trio celebrate Chloe's new partner Pokemon. That night, when Ash goes to bed, a small green monkey Pokemon sleepily sneaks into the lab. It slowly makes its way to Ash and Go's room and climbs into bed alongside Ash. When morning comes, Ash realizes the monkey Pokemon has been curled up in bed next to him. Confused, he wakes up Go. Go pulls out his Rotom phone and finds out the Pokemon is called Grookey. Immediately, Go tries to catch the monkey Pokemon, but the Pokeball fails. The two realize that Grookey must belong to someone else, so they begin to search for Vermilion City. As they search, they find no one has even seen the grass monkey Pokemon before. Confused, they continue searching around until they get to an area they stopped at during Pokemon orienteering. As they're looking around, Ash ends up finding a black-colored Pokeball. Curiously, he picks it up and finds the big red R on the front. Shocked, Ash drops the ball. It opens up on hitting the ground, revealing it to be empty. Go sees this and immediately clenches his fist. He picks up the Pokeball and attempts to smash it, claiming it would be better for Grookey to be free. But Ash stops him. He says while it would be best for Grookey to not be part of Team Rocket, they can't just forcefully release it. After all, how would that make them any better than Team Rocket to just take Grookey for themselves? Go doesn't seem to understand, thinking it makes no sense that they might be acting like Team Rocket. It would be for the best for Grookey to be free from Team Rocket's clutches. However, before Go can do anything, Ash snatches the ball away from him and calls Grookey back into it. With that, he takes off, much to Go's annoyance. At this time, Team Rocket are currently attempting to shop for food. They look like they're starving, and it's all due to Morpeko. As they're walking back to their hideout, Ash runs into them. At first they begin to call on Pelipper so they can use the gacha to fight for Pikachu, but Ash stops them, exclaiming he simply wants to return something they lost. The Rocket Trio exchanges looks before Ash holds up the Pokeball. Immediately, Jessie snatches it away from him, asking him where he got it from. Ash explains he ran into the Pokemon inside and has been trying to return it to the rightful owner ever since. He says that even though finding out it belonged to them was a shock, he still had to do the right thing. Team Rocket are surprised, thinking this is a trick. However, Jessie opens the Pokeball and finds Grookey inside. Sure enough, there were no tricks. Team Rocket aren't really sure what to think, but decide it would be best to thank Ash before running off. As they leave, Grookey turns to look at Ash. With an uncertain look, Grookey waves goodbye. Ash and Go reunite, with Go now having calmed down a bit. He still doesn't think it was the right thing to return Grookey to Team Rocket, but there's nothing he can do about it now. He asks Ash how he's feeling right now, but Ash doesn't respond. He thinks back to Grookey's look of uncertainty and wonders, did he really do the right thing? At the Rocket hideout, the trio get a call from Giovanni. He and Matori tell them they had noticed there was a missing Pokeball from the Gacha machine. And as they are the main ones to use it, they figured they had something to do with it. The trio informed Giovanni that they had already found the missing Pokemon and show off Grookey, which seems scared seeing the Rocket boss, and leaps into James's arms for protection. Giovanni doesn't seem the least bit surprised by this, but does tell them they did a good job finding Grookey. He then allows them to keep Grookey with them, as he figures Grookey could get stronger when being used more often. The feed cuts out briefly, before returning revealing only Matori is remaining. She warns them that they better not mess this up, as Grookey happened to be closer to the boss than the trio would originally think. That, the call ends completely, leaving the trio confused. And that's where we're going to leave things for right now. So what do you guys think? Are you glad Chloe is getting her time in the spotlight earlier than in the original? How do you think Yamper will feel with Eevee now taking more of Chloe's attention? And what do you think Matori meant when she said Grookey was closer to the boss than they thought? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!